I'm sorry, but the idea that Pierre is going to lose his seat is laughable. The Star and the Globe ran with the story that Pierre Poilievre's seat was in jeopardy, and now we find out it was a direct hit on the Conservative Party. Our media needs to be torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. Everyone and their mother can make election predictions until they're blue in the face. Here's one thing that is an absolute guarantee. Pierre Poilievre is going to beat Bruce Fanjoy. Anyone suggesting otherwise is spinning nonsense for ulterior motives. You sure about that? You sure about that? Pierre Poilievre, leader of the Conservative Party, has lost his seat to Liberal candidate Bruce Fanjoy. That's after 20 years of Pierre Poilievre being in Parliament. So in this video, I'm going to get to Bruce Fanjoy's reaction to that. I'm also going to get to some fun reactions to my initial video discussing the possibility of this happening and people just not having it at the time. Even though I was clear in the video that this definitely, there was no guarantee of anything happening. This is just what these are the stories coming out. This is what we are hearing. This is the data that is out there. These are the arguments that are being made. Could it happen? Yes. Might not happen either. And my actual conclusion in that video was that it's very unlikely to happen. That said, there are other people who were very confident that it definitely was not going to happen. And he lost his seat. So let me start with this incredible confidence from Bruce Fanjoy. This is from back in January, where he replied to somebody saying, "You can't defeat Pierre." He said, "Watch me." January 27th. Here he did defeat Pierre Poilievre with, I got to say, an impressive majority of the vote. Often under first past the post, you end up with, a plurality in victories. Here you have Bruce Fanjoy with 50.6% of the vote, and that's on a ballot with 90 plus candidates. So this was one of the ridings that were targeted by a group that is fighting for electoral reform, and as a way of highlighting their fight against first past the post, they launched a bunch of candidates on this ballot. And even with that, Bruce Fanjoy ending up with a majority. Impressive stuff. So here's his initial reaction on Twitter. I'll get to a clip of him as well in his recent interview. But he writes here, "Thank you, Carleton. As we've said from the beginning, together we can. I'm grateful and humbled by everyone who contributed to our campaign." Going on to say, "To all the people of Carleton, as your new member of Parliament, I'll work to bring us together. We are all Canadian. We have to look out for ourselves, and we have to take care of each other. Let's get to work." So this election is wild because you have a situation here where Pierre Poilievre in January was set to clearly win a majority government with the Conservative Party. Now, even though the Conservative Party maintained and did okay last night, the leader lost his seat. I don't know how you can confidently stay on as leader when you lose your own seat. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Pierre Poilievre. I'm going to guess, my assumption would be they're going to maybe hand him a seat. Maybe someone else in the House is going to step down and he'll take over their seat. A handout, if you will. I know conservatives are very fond of handouts. So we'll see if Pierre Poilievre gets a handout. But it's just a wild situation to, not do too poorly. To be clear, they still lost. But considering they were poised to see a liberal majority, you could argue that conservatives overperformed the polls. That said, they still way underperformed where they were a few months ago. Now, my video from a few days ago, reports suggest conservatives panicked as Pierre Poilievre could lose his own seat, has some interesting comments. So I'll get to those. First, I want to just go briefly over some of the arguments that were made. So this story came out saying that conservatives pour resources into Pierre Poilievre's riding amid fears of a tight race. Now, in my video, if you go and watch it, I was very clear that this doesn't mean that Pierre Poilievre's losing a seat. It could mean that. It could also mean that they're just worried that he was going to lose his margin that he had before, and they wanted him to appear as a strong leader. So my takeaway was that was really the worry there, is they wanted to maintain his 10-point plus lead in the riding, not necessarily that he was going to lose the seat. But yeah, he did lose the seat. And there was also this, Poilievre's Carleton riding had the most advanced voting in Canada. This was another indication that potentially something was going on there in terms of just the enthusiasm to come out and vote. Why that enthusiasm was there at the time, it was not clear. You could argue, hey, it's people coming out to support Pierre Poilievre, but that appears to, of course, not be the case. Now, here are some of the reactions to that video at the time. Now, I want to be clear. Most of the comments, if you go look at top comments on that video, they're positive. They're still skeptical, of course, as anyone should be, based on not knowing what's going to happen, but largely positive. But if you go and search fake news on the comments, you get some of the most hilarious responses. So, nope, fake news. Absolute fake news. Fake news. Leaks from the Doug Ford party that is more liberal than the Liberals, which is such a weird, ridiculous thing to say. Check your head, people. Liberals will say and do anything to stay in power. The amount of fake news from CBC, CTV Global, and it goes on. I cut it off. Nice try. PP's not losing his seat. More fake news from the Globe and Stale, or the Glob and Stale, along with the Commie Broadcasting Corp. Fake news. No, the polls. What did Polish people ever do? The polls are fake. They're not accurate. There's a lot of nonsense. Get with the program. Done by the CBC and the other news. Fake news. Fake news. This is fake news. Liberals are just trying to everything to gain an advantage, but it will not work. Canadians are not stupid. Fake news. Oh, for F's sake. They post fake news, and it's ridiculous to repeat. Fake news ain't happening. PP will be the next PM. Fake news, period. Fake news. All right, just a few more because I can't help myself. Sure, he will lose the seat according to the dirty fake poll from Liberal. Remember Kamala polls? Liberals in the mainstream media can dream, and I hope that Pierre will lose his riding. Sure, when pigs can fly, just like their fake polls. If you have ever used your brain and look around of all the conservative signs and the people you talk to, you know those polls are fake. Yes, because anecdotal evidence is obviously something you can conclude an entire country on and how they'll vote. Anyways, just like in the last U.S. election when they claimed Kamala Harris was way up at the polls. Same lie tactics. Smart Canadians will not be fooled. The reports are fake. Your channel is garbage. I will avoid this channel. That's my favorite one, I gotta say. Just perfect. So, I mentioned the 90 candidates here. So, people were claiming, or I should say people. I saw one person respond because I posted about this, Pierre losing on Twitter. One person responded saying, name another riding with 90 candidates. Again, Bruce Fanjoy got a majority of the vote. The 90 candidates were clearly not the problem there. Now, I do think it's unfortunate for people going to vote, how cumbersome that must have been to have to find the candidate on, a giant list, giant paper list of candidates to find the person you wanted to vote for. Sure, that's, annoying. But clearly, when it came to the actual popular vote, Bruce Fanjoy was the victor. So let me get to a clip. This is a reaction to his victory.
I recognized that history had an appointment with Carleton many years ago, and I wanted to stand up and provide a positive alternative to Pierre Poilievre, because I think that it was very important that we don't import divisive American-style politics to Canada, and so this was something I could see coming, and felt that the people of Carleton would like a strong, positive alternative.
So as of recording this, there is not yet a reaction from Pierre Poilievre, but as of recording this, I will refresh his Twitter page to see if he has said anything. I do want to just show you one last thing, because conservatives were very concerned that Mark Carney was unelected. Oh, you got a prime minister, but he's unelected. We can't stand this. We cannot have an unelected leader of a party. One example, high-profile example, is Ben Mulrooney saying, this is back a month or so ago, I'm beginning to think you and your gaslight gang are the ones who don't understand the difference. When people refer to Carney as unelected, it is not based on the belief that we elect prime ministers. It is that he quite literally and exclusively doesn't have a seat in the House of Commons. As a T. resident quote tweeted here saying, "Is Pierre Poilievre unelected now, Ben?" And Pierre Poilievre also used this argument. He wants Canadians, speaking of Trudeau, to wait while his incompetent Liberal Party selects the next unelected Prime Minister. Very concerned about people that are unelected. So, what's next for Pierre Poilievre? I really think that he's going to stay on as leader, considering even though there's so many arguments why he shouldn't. But we're talking about Pierre Poilievre here. We're talking about the Conservative Party. We're talking about a result where you could argue they outperformed the last day of polling, even though they underperformed, way underperformed where they were a few months ago. I think he's going to stay on, and they're going to try to find him a different seat, a much safer seat, and he's going to be given a handout. And then we could all laugh and laugh and laugh about how Pierre Poilievre had to be given a handout for his new seat. So, what are your thoughts? Let me know below in the comments. I almost forgot, as promised, I'm going to live refresh Pierre Poilievre's Twitter page to see if he has responded or reacted to the election loss. No, nothing. Nothing yet. I'm sure at some point he's going to have to react to the fact that he lost his seat. So wait for that.